If you had the chance, would you like to go to the moon? Imagine seeing the Earth from 3,84,400 kilometers away, where there is no blue sky, just our planet shining in darkness. 1/6 walking bouncing in gravity, like a superhero. A very quiet atmosphere, with no wind, no sound, just pure silence. Seeing the universe without any atmospheric barriers, millions of stars clearly visible. Would you like to go? Wow! That's awesome! Going to the moon would be like a dream, bouncing in low gravity, looking up close at the surface of the moon, and gazing at the Earth shining in the distance. If you really had the chance, what would you like to do first? If given the chance and the journey is completely safe, going to the moon will be a tremendous experience. The emptiness, the view of the Earth, and the low gravity, everything will be exciting. But going there would mean months of preparation, wearing heavy spacesuits and eating flavorless space food. Friends, today's video is going to be very interesting and informative. That's why you will definitely share this video as much as possible and reach many people. So, more and more people will know about it. Apart from this, you are also requested to watch the video from the beginning to the end. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. NASA builds Gateway Lunar Space Station, the most powerful solar-powered spacecraft ever. Gateway, humanity's first lunar space station, a mini space station. The Gateway is an international collaboration that aims to establish humanity's first lunar space station, designed to send humans back to the moon for scientific discovery, and pave the way for the first manned mission to Mars. NASA's Artemis mission is slowly taking shape, and an important part of that is the Gateway Lunar Space Station. The Gateway will act as a small but state-of-the-art space station located in the orbit of the moon. It will support future missions to the moon and will serve as a link for Mars missions. Work is underway to assemble the power and propulsion elements of the Gateway. This module will provide energy and propulsion for NASA's Lunar Space Station, as it will travel to the moon as part of the Artemis program. The propulsion bus module of the Gateway's power and propulsion elements is being assembled and installed at Maxar Space Systems in Palo Alto, California. The first astronauts to stay on the Gateway Lunar Space Station will arrive during NASA's Artemis 4 mission, marking a major step towards long-term lunar exploration and future missions to Mars. Built by Maxar Space Systems, power and propulsion elements will make Gateway the most advanced solar electric spacecraft ever flown. Once the moon's orbit is reached, the Gateway. It will support in scientific research and help astronauts prepare for deep space travel, including missions to the Red Planet. The power and propulsion elements, along with Gateway's halo, habitat and logistics outpost, will launch ahead of NASA's Artemis 4 mission. During Artemis 4, and 6, international crews of astronauts will assemble the Lunar Space Station around the moon and launch expeditions to the moon's South Pole region. Power and propulsion elements, PPE, will provide electrical energy and propulsion systems to the Gateway. It will have a solar electric propulsion system, which will keep it stable in lunar orbit. It is being developed by Maxar Technologies. Importance of gateways. Support to lunar surface missions. Astronauts of the Artemis mission will use it as a transit station to go to the lunar surface and back. Preparation for long-term missions. It will be a test site for future manned trips to Mars. International cooperation. NASA, ESA, European Space Agency, JAXA, Japanese Space Agency, and CSA, Canadian Space Agency, are collaborating in this. The first two major units, PPE and Halo, are planned to be launched by 2025. During Artemis 3, 2026, the first woman and the next man will land on the moon. NASA's Artemis mission is a historic and ambitious initiative to send humans back to the moon. This is not just limited to the lunar journey, but is also part of the preparation to send humans to Mars. Artemis 1 completed in 2022. It was the first manned mission. NASA's Space Launch System, SLS, and the Orion capsule were tested. The Orion capsule made a successful return after staying in the orbit of the moon for 25 days. Artemis II planned in 2025. This will be the first crewed mission in which astronauts will orbit the Moon in the Orion capsule. The astronauts will not land on the surface of the Moon, but will be testing the Gateway and Orion capsules. Artemis III planned in 2026. After 50 years, humans will land on the Moon. For the first time, a woman and a black astronaut will step on the lunar surface. SpaceX's Starship lander will be used in this. The goal is to land on the south pole of the Moon, where ice and water resources are likely to occur. Artemis IV, V6. These missions will be to expand the lunar gateway and establish a permanent human presence on the Moon. The gateway will be a small but advanced space station, which will orbit around the Moon and will be used as a transit hub for lunar missions. Its key components: Power and Propulsion Element, PPE, it will give energy and speed to the station. Habitation and Logistics Outpost, HALO, for astronaut living and scientific experiments. Esprit Module, Fuel Storage and Communication System. International modules, European and Japanese agencies will also add their modules. Why is the Artemis mission special? Long-term presence on the Moon. NASA is planning to build a permanent base for the first time. Preparing for Mars journey, the experience of living on the Moon will help in Mars travel. New astronauts and diversity, this time the mission will also feature women and black astronauts. International collaborations, ESA, JAXA, CSA and SpaceX with NASA are also involved. What will happen in the future? Mars mission. By the 2030s, NASA plans to send humans to Mars using the Moon as a launchpad. So this is not just lunar travel, but the beginning of the expansion of mankind throughout the solar system. Why are we returning to the Moon? Many people wonder that if humans have been to the Moon during the Apollo missions, 1969 to 1972, why go there again? The answer is sustainable presence and exploring the future. The Apollo mission was only for a few days, but now NASA is planning to stay on the Moon for a longer time. South pole of the Moon, there is a possibility of finding ice and water sources, which can be used for drinking water, fuel and oxygen. By understanding life on the Moon, we can prepare to send humans to Mars in the future. New technologies in the Artemis mission. Many new and modern technologies are being used in this mission, which makes it completely different from previous lunar missions. Space Launch System, SLS, the most powerful rocket ever built. The SLS is NASA's most powerful rocket that will carry the Orion capsule to the Moon. It is even more powerful than the Saturn V, Apollo-era rocket, and delivers a thrust of 39.1 meganewtons, Mn. Orion capsule New Age spacecraft. It will carry 4 astronauts to the Moon. It will have state-of-the-art features like solar power, radiation shielding and automatic navigation. There is a launch abort system for safety, which can safely evacuate the crew in an emergency. New settlements on the Moon. Artemis Base Camp. NASA's goal is to build a permanent research base on the Moon. It will have living modules, rovers and research facilities, which will make scientific experiments and new discoveries possible. New robotic technologies in space. Viper rover, it will search for ice and resources on the surface of the Moon. SpaceX Starship lander, it will carry astronauts to the surface of the Moon and back to the Gateway. After the Moon, preparing for Mars. NASA says the Artemis mission is only the first step. The real goal is to send humans to Mars. Using the Moon as a training ground, the gravity here is 6 times less than the Earth, allowing us to practice for Mars missions. Fuel production. Fuel can be made by extracting hydrogen and oxygen from the Moon's ice. Long-duration missions. Scientists here will learn how to survive for a long time in fewer resources, which will be necessary for Mars. Which countries are involved in this mission? The Artemis mission is a great example of international cooperation. It includes several countries. The United States, NASA, is leading the mission. The European Space Agency, ESA, is building modules for the Gateway station. Japan, JAXA, working on the lunar rovers and Gateway modules. Canada, CSA, is building the robotic arm, Canadarm3. Australia providing communication and navigation support. When do you think human settlements will be built on the moon? Will it be possible to live on the moon in the future? Will we be able to see humans living on the moon in our lifetime? Companies like NASA, ESA, Russia, China, and SpaceX are working on moon colony plans. The chances are very high. Human settlements can be built on the moon in 30 to 50 years, but in the beginning only scientists and explorers will live there. Lunar tourism and mining may also begin in the future, creating a permanent colony of hundreds of people there. If it succeeds, then the dream of establishing a human colony on Mars can also be fulfilled. Plans to build a human colony on the moon. Artemis mission, 2025 to 2030, first steps. NASA and international partners will send brief missions to the first moon. For this, Artemis Base Camp will be built, which will be the first base for humans to stay on the moon for a long time. First permanent base on the moon, 2030 to 2040. Agencies such as NASA, ESA and China are planning to build long-term sustainable modular hubs. In this phase, habitat modules will be installed on the surface of the moon, which will protect against radiation and micrometeorites. Using robots and 3D printing technology, buildings will be made from the moon's soil, regolith. Expansion of the lunar colony, 2040 to 2050, Artemis Base Camp. NASA is working on a plan to build an Artemis Base Camp on the moon by 2030, which will include habitation modules, energy and communication systems, research labs, and hydroponics farming systems. The European Space Agency, ESA, is planning to build a moon village by 2035, in which different countries of the world can participate. There will be a small permanent colony of 50 to 100 people on the moon. Here will be the preparation of scientific research, mining of helium-3 and other mineral and Mars missions. There is also a possibility of tourism and commercial activities. What challenges will have to be faced? The moon does not have an atmosphere, allowing sunlight to fall on the surface without obstruction. There are no cloudy, wind, or weather barriers, making solar panels very effective. Scientists are planning to build solar farms on the moon, which can generate electricity. The moon's atmosphere is almost non-existent, so there is no oxygen to breathe. In situ resource utilization, ISRU, technology is being developed to create oxygen, which can extract oxygen from the lunar soil, regolith. The days and nights on the moon are 14 to 14 days, causing extreme temperature variations there. Extreme temperatures, from minus 173 degrees Celsius to plus 127 degrees Celsius, nights on the moon are 14 days long, making the continued use of solar energy not possible. Nuclear energy, small nuclear reactors, can be used. The lunar microgrid is being developed so that solar energy can be stored and used. Battery storage systems, hydrogen fuel cells and nuclear power plants can be used to store solar energy. Scientists plan to live in lunar caves, lava tubes, which could be ideal for protecting against temperatures. Scientists have discovered ancient volcanic caves on the moon, which could be used for habitation. These caves can offer protection from radiation, temperature changes, and micrometeorites. Scientists are developing self-cleaning and radiation-proof solar panels. The moon does not have a magnetosphere like Earth, due to which there is a risk of harmful rays of the sun and cosmic radiation. NASA and ESA scientists are planning to build a house out of lunar regolith with 3D printing technology to avoid radiation. With this technique, houses can be built using local resources without carrying heavy material from the Earth. There is no liquid water on the moon, but the presence of ice has been found at the South Pole. Scientists are planning to extract water from this ice and make oxygen and hydrogen, rocket fuel, from it. The gravity on the moon is about 1/6 of that of the Earth, which can affect bones and muscles. It is important to understand its effect on the human body. The astronauts will use workouts and special suits to keep their muscles strong. Special construction materials will be needed for protection from radiation and micrometeorites. Ice has been found at the south pole of the moon, from which water and fuel, hydrogen plus oxygen, can be made. Scientists are trying to cultivate the moon with hydroponics and aeroponics technology. New spacecraft such as the SpaceX Starship and NASA SLS are being prepared to carry humans to the moon. It will be used as a stopover for the journey from the moon to Mars. Which countries are planning to build colonies on the moon? NASA, USA, Artemis Base Camp, until the 2030s. ESA, Europe, Moon Village Project, until 2035. China and Russia, an international lunar base. SpaceX lunar colony and Mars mission by 2036. Would it be possible to farm on the moon? Yes, it may be possible to farm the moon, but it will require special techniques. How is that possible? There is soil, regolith, on the moon, but it does not have the necessary nutrients for plants. There is sunlight available, but the temperature varies very much. Cultivation will be possible with biodomes and greenhouse technology. What solutions are scientists looking for farming? Hydroponics and aeroponics technology can be grown without soil by giving water and nutrients to plants. Scientists are seeing if crops can be grown by making some changes in lunar soil. Algae and fungi-based farming, these grow fast and can generate oxygen. Controlled environment farming so that plants can avoid radiation and extreme temperatures. NASA and the European Space Agency have conducted some experiments in which plants have been successfully grown in a structure similar to lunar soil. In the future, if farming on the moon becomes successful, people living there will be able to grow fresh food and there will be less need to bring food from Earth. Will tourists be able to go to the moon in the future? Yes. Space tourism on the moon will be possible in the future, but it will be very expensive. Which companies are planning lunar tours? SpaceX Elon Musk's company can send tourists around the moon by 2030. Blue Origin Jeff Bezos' company is working on lunar tourism in the future. Virgin Galactic working in space tourism first, lunar tourism is also possible in the future. NASA and ESA are planning to take the camper to the moon for scientists and special missions. How long might it be possible? By 2030, wealthy tourists can find the facility to circle around the moon. Until 2040, a stay on the moon for a few days can be facilitated. By 2050, hotels and resorts could be built on the moon. So friends, meet again in the next video with some more interesting facts. If you liked the video, then please like, share and subscribe, and if you want a video on a particular topic, then definitely tell your topic in the comment box below.